Hello, friends. This is Dave Hurwitz, executive editor at ClassicsToday.com, here with Ripe for Reissue. And it's a box. And it's a box that, it just broke my heart when it disappeared. Never should have disappeared. It is this, Gluck, the Great Operas, issued by Decca on 15 CDs. This is a glorious collection of opera performances by a composer who everybody acknowledges his importance, and historically, and whatnot. He's in all the books, and if you go to concert halls, older concert halls, they have like the names of the composers, and they have like Beethoven and Schubert and Brahms and Schumann and Mendelssohn, and they always have Gluck. And if it's an American concert hall, they usually have McDowell, like if anybody cares. But they have Gluck, and you're like, well, why do they have Gluck? Why bother with Gluck? I mean, he reformed opera, supposedly. He got rid of the Baroque opera with the endless da capo arias and adopted the more French model with simple plots and continuous music all the way through. And yes, he did those things. No one cares because nobody listens to it. But the fact is that Gluck was a thrilling composer. And the reason he did it was to get straight to what he regarded as the heart of the music and express pure, raw passion in his music. And he did. I mean, that's exactly what he did. I think his operas are just thrilling. I really do. They're magnificent. They have no fat, very little. There's like nothing extra. And they just, They do what he says they're supposed to do. They're wonderful. And one of the great moments in the period instrument world was the rediscovery and recording of all the major Gluck operas by the best period instrument ensembles and performers, even if they didn't always do the vibrato. I mean, that's okay. Gluck, by the way, notated vibrato constantly. He completely disproves everything that the period instrument people say about vibrato. You could just tell by looking at his major scores. And we know what they mean. I mean, it's not like there's anything controversial about this, but I don't want to go there. What I want to go with is this wonderful set. It was beautifully put together. You get this hard slipcase. You have the operas, color-coded. There's a nice booklet that come with them, although you don't get the libretti, obviously. At least you don't get all of them, I don't think, unless I'm completely mistaken. No, wait a minute. You do get the libretti. You get them in the original languages. But you get them. Okay, so there you go. The performances are wonderful. Let me just tell you what's in it, and then I'll scream and yell and carry on about why, when you've put this much effort and this much talent and this much care into producing beautiful, wonderful performances of absurdly neglected works, why not make them available? Why not leave them for people to watch or listen to or enjoy? Why? I don't get it. So what do we have here? We have the original Italian Orfeo with, well, let me tell you who the people are, because it doesn't make any sense if you don't know who's performing what. So you've got the original Orfeo with John Eliot Gardner and the English Baroque soloists, with Sylvia McNair as Eurydice and Derek Lee Reagan as a countertenor Orfeo. I mean, I prefer an alto, but that's okay. And who's this? Cynthia Seddon as Amore. So that's Orfeo, the original Italian one. You also get, wait a minute, the French one, the French revision, which has more music and other stuff going on in it. And that's with Richard Croft and Mireille Delunch and Marion Harousseau. So that's lovely. And that's with Les Musiciens du Louvre and Mark Minkowski. And after that, you get Alcest. Now, Alcest is hot stuff. Holy cow, is Alcest hot stuff. It's marvelous. Marvelous music. And most of these pieces exist in more than one version, in multiple languages, and so we don't get duplicates of everything, and they're not the same. And Alcest has a sort of a messed up last act where no one knows how it's supposed to end because there are many options. And it doesn't matter because it's just thrilling. So we get, let's see, we have Paul Groves and Anne-Sophie von Otter as Alcest, and Dietrich Henschel and Jan Buron and some other people with Gardner and his crew. So that's Alcest. I got all these like in order here? Yes, I do. Then we have Paride et Helena, or Paride et Helena, Paris and Helen. Paris and Helen, where we have Magdalena Kozhina and Susan Gritton and Carolyn Sampson and Gillian Webster and McCreesh with the Gabrielli consort and players. And then there's Armide. We all know Armide. This is Armide. It's Italian or some other language. French. Armide. Pardon me. It's French. The story. Rossini said it. Dvorak said it. Haydn said it. Everyone did. Handel said it. Everybody did an Armide. And it's Mireille Delunch and Charles Workman and Laurent Naouri and Eva Podlish. And, oh yes, wonderful people with Les Musiciens du Louvre and Mark Minkowski. And then we've got the two Iphigenias, Iphigenia. We have Iphigénie and Aulide. And this is Gardner with Joseph Van Dam and Anne-Sophie von Otter and Lynn Dawson and John Aller. It's really a wonderful performance. There's that one. And then we have Iphigénie en Tauride, which is my fave, personally. Even Maria Callas did that one with Diana Montague and Thomas Allen and John Aller and Gardner again with the Lyon Opera in this case. The opening of this opera is so thrilling. It's got an overture that works up into a storm because she's like on a boat. She's arriving in Tauride and she comes swooping onto stage. In the middle of the overture, it's continuous all the way through. And it's got the most famous aria probably of like the entire middle decades of the 18th century, which is O malheureuse Iphigénie, which is one of the most beautiful and fascinating pieces of vocal music in the entire repertoire because it is a completely non-continuous melody. It's fascinating. And it began life as an aria from Gluck's setting of La Clemenza di Tito. He did a La Clemenza di Tito, believe it or not. And it's, what is it? Si mai sente it's if I feel your breath on my face. It's the translation. I forget the Italian. And it's even fascinating as a da capo aria because for the A section, it's a completely non-repetitive melody. And a beautiful melody. Here, it's even more thrilling because that non-repetitive melody continues and the voice is enhanced by the women's chorus that pops in behind it and the music just flows on. It's indescribably beautiful, completely modern, and just glorious. It's a beautiful, beautiful performance. It's one of Gardner's work on behalf of Gluck may be the best thing he ever did. The most important thing he ever did. And finally, there are historical recordings and rarities. And, you get like a whole bunch of old dead people singing arias from Gluck operas, which is really quite fun. there's some really fine singers in here. Cecilia Bartoli is not exactly a historic recording, but it is a rarity. She does these, things from, here it is. Si mai senti spirarti sul volto. That's the one that became O malheureuse Iphigénie. It's if I feel your breathing on my face, and this is with Magdalena Kozhina. And you've got Teresa Berganza and Regine Crespin and Suzanne Danko and Leopold Simoneau and Marilyn Horn and Juan Diego Flores and Pilar Lorenjar and Janet Baker and Kathleen Ferrier and you name it. They all did Gluck, and nobody seems to give a damn. Oh, it pisses me off, least of all the record labels. Those people there. So, I don't know if you can still find these. Maybe as individual productions you can find some of them. But, Gluck is so not what people think he is. He is the opposite of pedantic, the opposite of formulaic, the opposite of someone who was dogmatic in what he was doing. It was none of that. It's pure, unbridled, emotional expression, and it's glorious. And this box was just fabulous, absolutely fabulous. It should never, ever, ever have disappeared. It's just a crime It really is. So there you go. Another opportunity to fetch and moan, which we're all very good at, but boy, this should never have gone out of print. Keep on listening, friends. Thank you for joining me. Take care.